Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is just eat meat, and that's what you should do. But if you're hiking or road tripping or stuck at work and you want something nutritious that is just meat, fat, and possibly salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. I like this product not only because it is pure meat, but also because I really want the carnivore market to thrive as well. The more we support meat only products, the more people will make meat only products, and this will bring this into the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to check out, then take a look and use my discount code HTC to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right. Thanks, guys.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the How to Carnivore podcast and YouTube series. We're joined by Dr. Anthony Chaffee, the plant-free MD, back again. And today we've got a very special guest, Serena, who's a good friend of Dr. Chaffee and I, and who has been helping us run our 30-day carnivore challenge. So together, the three of us have helped lots of people. And yeah, we've both really enjoyed getting to know you, Serena, over the past, let's say 3-5 months, something like that. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've really enjoyed the How to Carnivore group a lot. It's helped me. I didn't get in probably till a year into my journey or close to that, but it's been helpful for me and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Oh, great. Now, how did you get into carnivore, and also why did you get into carnivore?
So I got into carnivore kind of by accident. I have a post-COVID issue where things taste and smell rotten. Many things taste and smell rotten. I had COVID December of 2020, lost my sense of taste and smell. It had come back, but like really muted for about 3 months. And then all of a sudden, one day I woke up and on my way down the steps, I asked if the dog had been sprayed by a skunk. And my husband said, no, she hasn't even been out yet. And I said, what is that horrible smell? He said, I just made coffee. And I was like, no, not coffee. Please, not coffee. But I had never heard of this before. I didn't know what this was. I was at that point eating a Weight Watchers healthy American diet at that point, very low fat, just lean chicken breast, lots and lots of vegetables. I would say 75% of my plate was vegetables. Fruits and vegetables tasted and smelled rotten to me. Chicken tasted and smelled rotten to me. The one thing that didn't was sugar. So any kind of baked goods with lots of sugar in it did not taste like that. The weird thing is that the butter in it did. Like I could tell when there was butter in stuff. So like the only thing that I could really eat was sweet stuff at that point. I started gaining weight. I was miserable. I did not feel good. And I joined some Facebook groups where people would talk about it. And I saw people from one end of the spectrum to the other. There were some people that had gained 100 pounds in 6 months because they can only eat sweet stuff. And other people were on feeding tubes. I mean, that's how bad it gets. So I was kind of in the middle, but people are on feeding tubes, even still, because they can't keep anything down because the taste and smell is so bad. And once you eat something, people would say, oh, just get through it. Oh, you can just eat that. But once you eat it, the smell is coming out of you for hours and hours and hours. The smell is just there, like inside of you, and you just can't get rid of it. It's a horrible feeling. So I had lots of days where I couldn't even leave the house. I mean, I was using lots and lots of essential oils at the time. I would put essential oils in a diffuser and just kind of hold it under my nose to try to get rid of the smell. It was just awful. And so lots and lots of sugar because it was the only thing that tasted good. And then in May, on my birthday last year in 2021, my girls are bakers. They have a gluten-free little bakery in our house and they sell at the farmer's market and they make delicious cupcakes. And so for my birthday, they said, do you want us to make you cupcakes? And I was like, double that batch because I want more than my share. Yeah. And I ended up over the course of that weekend in 36 hours, I ate 20 cupcakes. And I woke up on Monday morning and I was like, okay, that's it. And like when I resolve something, usually I'm pretty good about it for a while. So I was like, that's it. No more sugar. So if I'm not going to eat sugar and carbs and processed carbs and baked goods anymore, and I can't eat fruits and vegetables, what does that leave me? And at that point, I knew that I could eat a hamburger, but it had to be fresh off the grill. I couldn't put anything on it except salt. Cheese tasted and smelled rotten, so I couldn't use cheese. And I could eat a steak, but only a certain kind of steak, and it had to be fresh off the grill. I couldn't refrigerate it and then reheat it. There's some sort of weird chemical reaction, I guess. And so I was just eating like those two things. And that day, was like the day I decided, and I started doing research online and found, of course, the same people everybody finds when they start looking it up. I found the Joe Rogan, Sean Baker podcast, Michaela Peterson, Kelly Hogan, Laura Spath, and I started watching all of these videos. So I just kind of dove into it. We homeschool. This was end of May. We were done with school. And so we were just kind of hanging out at home. And so my husband and I would go, running a few mornings a week, and we would go run, and we would come back and just kind of lay in the sun on our porch for a little while and get our vitamin D. And I was just absorbed all day long. I had this in all day, every day, listening to videos, started listening to books, and I just started eating that way. That very day, I started eating that way. And it was really easy to stick with because I was full so much, but I wasn't eating enough in the beginning. That's a whole nother story, but I stuck with it. And this is the longest. It's been over 18 months. It's the longest I have ever stuck with anything ever. Met my goal on Thanksgiving. And normally when I met my goal, or any goal, arbitrary goal or otherwise that I had set for myself for weight or anything, I would reward myself with like cupcakes or something. And like, oh, good, I did that. So I can go ahead and eat 20 cupcakes today because, tomorrow I'll just get right back on. And then it was never tomorrow. It was 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month later, or even longer than that sometimes. And I'm an all or nothing person. I'm an abstainer, not a moderator. And so on Thanksgiving, I met my goal, and I had some turkey, and I had taken some sausage cheese balls, and that was all I had. And I came home feeling like a winner, like every other time I had ever met any kind of goal, I came home that day feeling like a total and complete loser. So it was the first time I've ever not rewarded myself with food and just kind of stayed on track. I find it super easy to stay on track. So anyway, that's how I became a carnivore, and that's why. And I am never going back.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's a great
ahead.
story. Yeah. And very well done. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
So when you say you reached your goal, like was that a body weight goal?
It was just, and I think I talked to you guys about this when it got closer, maybe like 10 pounds away, 8 pounds away, I started thinking, I'm not even sure I need that. I don't, my body is different than it was at this weight, and at 10 pounds heavier, even my body is differently shaped than it was. I thought the way my body was shaped was hereditary. My grandmother, my mom, we all had saddlebags, and I'm not saying they're completely gone, but I'm shaped differently than I was shaped last time I weighed this. I'm wearing a size smaller than I was wearing last time I weighed this. So even at 10 pounds till my goal, I started saying, I'm not really sure that's necessary. I mean, I think it is, but I'm not sure. I just want to fit into, this certain size or these certain jeans that I've been hanging on to for all these years, thinking one day I'll get back into them. And I could get into all of them almost at that point. And then by the time I hit my goal, I could, for sure. But yeah, it was just a weight goal that I had set. It was the weight goal. It's what I weighed when I got pregnant with my first child more than 20, right at 23 years ago. And so that was just kind of always my goal after I had a child. I just kind of wanted to be back. So we have 4 kids. I gained 80 pounds the first time, 60 the second time, 50, and then 40. So I learned a little bit as I went along, but it was always, a little bit hard to get that weight off. But in any case, I had held on to a pair of jeans that I wanted to be able to wear. They're actually hanging where I can see them as soon as I open my closet door, and have been for 11 years. And I got them on Thanksgiving Day. So that was really kind of my goal. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like,
it felt good.
Like many people, you've started off with a weight goal, which is obviously important, but there's a bit more to it, as I'm sure you've discovered over the last 18 months on Carnivore.
Yeah.
I mean, what have been some of the other benefits?
Mentally, I think, so I had eating disorders and disordered eating for probably 35 years. I'll be 50 in May. And I bought my first diet pills when I was 12.
Jeez.
So I've literally been on a diet almost my whole entire life. And so to not feel like I'm on a diet, something clicks mentally when you make the switch to carnivore and you realize you can do it. It's so empowering to get through those holidays, or, in the beginning, just the first couple of days, and then the first week, and then you've made it through the first month, and every milestone is very encouraging and empowering, and it builds your confidence, and you realize I can do this, especially after, 35 years of failed diets, failed experiments, failed juice fasts. I mean, the juice fasts I did. So many juice fasts. My 16-year-old, when she was 1.5, the palms of her hands and the bottom of her feet were had an orange hue from all the carrot juice. I mean, we used to juice. I know we used to juice a lot. And so I've done.
That was an episode of House. House MD. That was a great one. The guy came in and he's just like, he's like, oh yeah, I don't know about this. He's talking about something else. And House was just like, it's like, no, you actually have a much worse problem. He's like, your wife is cheating on you. It's like, what? What are you talking about? And he's just like, you're orange, you moron. You know, it's like, for you not to notice is one thing, you know, you're oblivious or whatever, but for your wife to not notice or just not care, like obviously her attention is not focused on you. Like, so she's definitely
Yeah.
having an affair. And he's just like, oh God, you know, they just like leave it like that. They just leave it as like a drop. But yeah, that's
How
crazy to
funny.
get that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had tried so many different things. So, but I think being on the carnivore diet, I think it kind of fixed my brain. I'm not on a diet anymore. I feel like I am a carnivore. I'm not on the carnivore diet, and I enjoy my food. I didn't always enjoy, like, I would buy like ground turkey breast, and then I would buy sausage seasoning and I would put it on it to make it taste like sausage. It did not taste like sausage. Let's be clear about that right now. It did not taste like sausage, but I was trying, like, I would always like get around things, you know, any way I possibly could.
Was that the idea?
Yeah. Trying to eat more lean, and, you know, because sausage is bad for you. And so, but I think it does a lot in your head. And I think Dr. Chaffee could attest to that. It changes your brain chemistry, doesn't it?
Well, it does, yeah, in a number of different ways, and it turns on different gene expression and things like that. Like the epigenetics are quite interesting as well. You know, just being in ketosis and just being in that metabolic state. You know, people see this from fasting. You get a lot of benefits from fasting. A lot of it has to do with gene expression and the different things that autophagy and just one of them, you know, clearing out these sort of, you know, these senescent cells that you know, maybe would be precancerous at some point, maybe precancerous or just not functioning as well as it could be. But tons of things, tons of things. So yeah, so it changes, you know, everything about your body. You just start running differently. That's why I always said that, you know, I just feel like a different breed of human, you know, and in a lot of ways. Yeah, I tell people that, like, after about 2 weeks, you know, get all this stuff out of your system. You know, alcohol takes 3 weeks. That after that, like, you will just feel like a different breed of person, you know, and in a lot of ways you are, because your body's working in a very different way, you know, in comparison to yourself and others who are not eating this way. And it's amazing. It is an amazing difference.
Yeah, it took me about 6 months to realize I was better, like in here, you know, because I was just kind of prodding along. I was trying to heal this thing, and I didn't really have any intention of doing this forever. I was just waiting for my taste and smell to get better, which it has gotten a lot better. I still have a hard time even being in the same room as garlic and onion. When somebody's making popcorn, I get a little bit sick to my stomach. When somebody eats peanut butter and I smell it, I actually burp peanut butter like an hour later, even though I didn't even eat the peanut butter. It's the weirdest thing. I'm telling you, it's so bizarre. That happens with other things too. Like if something is really heavily seasoned and I'm in the room while somebody's making it, I tend to burp it up later, even though I didn't even eat it. It's really bizarre. But I didn't know if I would do this forever. You know, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't start out for health reasons necessarily. I started out to heal that issue. And the more research I did, and the more I fell in love with it, and the more I loved my food, and the better I felt. And then I started reading about abstainers and moderators and realized that I'm an abstainer. There's not something wrong with me. Like, I would go to the store, and when I was buying, you know, gluten-free Oreos for the family for a treat or something, because I've been gluten-free for a long time. I know, because they're health foods, I know. But, you know, if we were having a party or we were having company and I would buy them, I would get 2 packs because one was for me. And I was going to like hide and eat it. I was going to take a whole handful and go somewhere and eat them and act like I wasn't doing it. You know, I mean, like I did that for years. I definitely had a binge eating problem. I would eat all kinds of stuff like that. But at the same time, I was really healthy on the other side of it. You know what I mean? Like, that was a binge. And then for 2 weeks, I would punish myself with what I thought was healthy, a juice fast or just salad, or I wouldn't eat for 3 days as a punishment to myself for eating those things. You know, it was just this constant cycle for me. So it was about 6 months in that I learned about an abstainer versus moderator and realized that it is a thing. It's not just me. Other people have this same problem. So I was either abstaining or I was binging, you know? And so that made a big difference. Once I learned about that, I realized why I can't take a day off or take a meal off without, and I didn't. Last Christmas, I think, was the last time I actually had sugar. So about 6 months in, I had a couple of little things here and there. And I was amazed that I didn't binge on it. Like, once I was done, I was done. If I had, you know, one little bite of something, I've never been able to do that, have one bite of something. And last Christmas, I was able to do that, but I haven't done it since. So on Christmas, it'll have been a year since I had any sugar or anything like that at all. But I do think that it changed my brain chemistry. And about 6 months in, I realized I was better, that I wasn't sick anymore. I didn't have disordered eating anymore. I didn't have an eating disorder anymore. And that I feel healthy in my brain too, probably for the first time, I don't know, maybe ever.
Great. Yeah. I mean, Serena, you went in trying to cure one particular problem, which was, not being able to handle the taste or smell of any food other than meat fresh off the grill. And I suppose also you were hoping for a weight loss goal as well. And you've like the amount that you've learned and the amount that you've healed in the past 18 months, it's way more than you were sort of bargaining for. But yeah, it's fantastic. What?
I tear up. I tear up on a daily basis, basically. I get teary eyed almost on a daily basis thinking about how healthy I am physically and mentally. I didn't have a good childhood. My mom's an alcoholic. My dad was a drug addict. And so I don't know that I was ever really healthy mentally until the last, 18 months or so. And that's pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are you eating at the moment, Serena? Talk us through what's working.
Lots of chicken wings, even though I don't think I know that chicken is not the best thing for me. I know that I feel better when I eat mostly red meat, but I don't know. I got this thing for chicken wings lately, maybe about 6 months, really, if I'm being honest about it. And the bag that I finished last week, I wasn't going to buy any more for a while, but today I bought more and made some actually during the other Zoom for the Patreon group. I was eating chicken wings and I could see Olivia like doing this. And so I sent her a private message. I was like, it's chicken wings, Olivia.
Yeah.
But I love my chicken wings. It's actually the only time I ever use a condiment. I do use a little bit of hot sauce. It's the only time I ever use a condiment. I know. I'm sorry. I know I'm a monster. But I think they're going to come take my card away, right? The carnivore police are going to come get me.
Yeah, carnivore
but
card.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I think it goes back to my childhood when my mom used to take me to, like a happy hour place with 10-cent wings. Now they're like $1.50 at Buffalo Wild Wings. They were like 10 cents at the time for happy hour. And I remember sitting there and there was just something about, I don't know, because it wasn't really necessarily a good part of my childhood because my mom was over there doing happy hour and I was like 8 or 9 years old, but I just loved chicken wings. And then I deprived myself of them for so many years because they were bad for me because they were fried, so for so many years I didn't eat them. And now I have just found a new love for them. And I still try to eat mostly red meat and I eat lots of eggs, but chicken wings are a thing. I do lots of egg yolk chaffles with butter mixed into the egg yolks and then, put them in the little waffle maker. And it's very bread-like to go with eggs. I don't like my eggs by themselves. I don't really like scrambled eggs. I like eggs over easy with some salt on them, maybe just a little bit of cheese sprinkled on, but I don't like them by themselves. So I have to have something to kind of sop it up with, and so I like the chaffles for that. So I'll eat that for breakfast a lot of times, which is a ton of fat because of the extra egg yolks. And then of course, lots of butter. And then for lunch, like today I had some of those little cloud breads with some turkey and cheese and a little bit of homemade mayonnaise on it for a meal. But typically I don't eat stuff like that. Typically it's leftover steak from the day before or leftover burgers from Wednesday. We'll make like 20 burgers all at once and we'll make like 8 steaks all at once. And then we'll make some ribs one day. And then we'll just kind of have that food for the rest of the week. But I have a meat and cheese casserole in the refrigerator right now that my kids love and my husband loves. And so I'll make that and that they'll kind of snack on that throughout the week. And I'll eat, like more steak and hamburgers. I do eat a little bit of the meat and cheese casserole, but not as much as everybody else does, I think, because of all the cheese. But that's kind of what I eat mostly is steak and hamburgers and chicken wings and eggs. And, you can't go wrong with that. And then lots and lots of butter.
Yeah. I was going to say too, I remember those wing days, like where it's like on, when I was in San Diego, it was like Wednesdays. That was the days like Wednesday wings. And so all these different wing places, they would be like, you say like 10-cent wings. Yeah. And it's always had like all these different sauces, stuff like that. So we would go, guys on the rugby team, we'd go just all the different places and just get wings. And we would just crush these things. It was like, these like, 8 or 10 like big rugby players just going to town on these wings. And, you get like 50 of these things, $5 or whatever. It was like, it's just nothing. Yeah. And and you just absolutely just crush these things. Those were great. I actually do sort of like think about that sometimes, because I really did like those, but like I don't want the sauce, and I don't want them to like fry it in like, canola oil and things like that.
Yeah.
But but I sort of miss those things. They don't have that option here in Australia that I know of, anyway, not in Perth, but like but those were always really good.
Now Buffalo Wild Wings fries theirs in beef tallow.
Oh, do they? Oh.
Yeah, they do. So if you can find one of those, or when you're traveling, Buffalo Wild Wings uses beef tallow, and I make them at home. I just put them in the air fryer and just let them get crispy like that. I like them extra crispy. At Buffalo Wild Wings, I always ask for them to fry them twice, because I like them really, really, I like it to crunch when I bite into it. And then I just make them at home in the air fryer there. I put like 6 of them in there and let them get really good and crispy, flip them over halfway through. And then I just dip them in just a little bit of the sauce.
Shame.
You feel your disappointment.
We're gonna have to end the interview here, Serena.
So the mayo that you make, because that's something that my mom used to make mayo. Like she would make mayo, but she would use different oils. God, I don't even know what oil she would use, but anyway, oil as plant oil as opposed to fat. Like what are you making your mayo with?
Usually I use bacon grease, and you put in a jar, like a mason jar, and it's best if you have a stick blender, one of those long blenders you can shove down in there. And I put 2 egg yolks and like half a teaspoon of either vinegar or lemon juice and some salt in there, and then put the immersion blender down in it and start doing it, like turn it on, and then you pour the grease in. It has to be melted but not hot. Right. You know what I mean? Like, so almost where it's starting to get hard again, and just pour it. Right. Yeah. And pour it in slowly while you're, doing the immersion blender. And it goes from being this like liquid to all of a sudden being a mayonnaise texture. It's the coolest thing to watch. So I usually use bacon grease for that.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. And that's what people say, baconaise or whatever. They call it. Like, it's like, sounds amazing. And mayo's nice too. You put it on like, things that are drier, like some chicken or ham or whatever. But just anything, it's just sort of nice to do that. And then people get like cloud bread, and you can put that, some of the bacon mayonnaise in there, and then you have the cloud bread, which is just egg whites. Really, it's just like a baked meringue, really, and then some meat in there, and some cheese if you want it, and like it's not bad, and it's got a lot of people miss that sort of sandwich experience. That's a way they can do it. And then you talk about your family, sort of eating like the meat casserole and things like that. How have they taken to this? Are they obviously, I would imagine they're supportive of you, but are they sort of taking after you in this as well, or are they sort of eating everything?
They think I'm a little bit crazy. I think, our 2 older kids are 22 and 20, and they both still live here, but they both just kind of do their own thing for food. Our daughter does a lot of food prep. She has one of those, little wine refrigerators downstairs in the basement, and she makes all of her little meal preps in the containers and takes it down there and stops and gets one on her way out the door for work. And then our son, he eats, just basic normal food. He doesn't watch what he eats necessarily. Our 2 younger girls are 16 and 14, and they eat pretty good, like lots of protein. They do eat some fruit, and they do eat some carbs. I'm not rigid about it for them. There comes a point where they have to make their own decision. I think when they're younger, it's easier because you can just switch them. Yeah. But once they get to be this age, like 14 and 16, that's just a really hard thing not that I couldn't do it. I could. I just know that it's necessary for them yet. I would like for them to make that decision. They do eat what we cook. If we make steak, they have steak. If we make burgers, they have burgers. They eat all the stuff that we make. And if we go out, a lot of times they'll get a burger without the bun, or something like that. But they're not. My husband is mostly carnivore since early this year. And so that makes it a lot easier for me. So it's, easier for both of us because we're just both eating the same things all the time. So that works out really well.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. And I agree. I mean, once you get to a certain point, you're not really able to sort of just force people to do things. And you sort of missed the boat on that one, just from the timing of it. But at the same time, your family's obviously seeing your results and how well you're doing and how interested you are in it. And you're learning more, and you're going to be talking about it because you're interested in it. And you're like, wow, look at this, look what I found, look at this video, look at this, all these sorts of things. Right. obviously has an effect on them because they're going out and ordering certainly bunless hamburgers as
Yeah,
well
yeah.
when you guys go out. So,
Right.
it's obviously, making an impression on them, and they're seeing those benefits. And at some point they're just, they might be able to just say, well, why don't I just try this all the way and see how I go? And I'm sure they'll be feeling better just as a result of just eating more meat as well, and just sort of trying to limit these things out. So, it sounds like they're coming around, and hopefully, might give it a shot someday.
Yeah, and they love beef bacon. Like our local butcher makes beef bacon, and so that's one of the things I try to almost always kind of keep in the house. And I'll kind of ration it. I order maybe 10, 12 pounds a month and go pick it up and come home and make that. It does have the seasonings on it, but it doesn't taste and smell rotten to me. So I'm thrilled to have just a little bit of the seasoning on that. And I eat regular bacon too, so it's not a big deal to have that little bit of seasoning, but they love that. And I ordered it. It was supposed to be ready Thursday, and he didn't tell me when it was ready, probably because he told me on Tuesday that it would be ready on Thursday, but I forgot. So I didn't go, and I remembered today, but we were busy, and I was like, on the way home, we have to stop and take up the beef bacon. And my 16-year-old was so excited. She was like, we're having beef bacon for dinner. And I was like, yeah, I was so excited. I pull in, all the lights were off. They closed. I don't know what time today. I didn't look afterwards, but they usually close at 6 during the week. They closed early today. I kid you not, I almost cried. I was like, I can't believe I can't have beef bacon today. I wanted beef bacon.
Call them
really
at home and just be like, look, this is an emergency. Yeah.
Get down to the butcher shop now.
Look, this is life and death, because I will literally kill everyone around me if I don't get this.
Yeah, it's so good though. I mean, it's completely different than bacon, but really, really good. And everybody in the house likes it. Like they come into the kitchen, they say, are you making beef bacon? I have to do 2 whole pans of it every time I make it, but everybody likes it. So if you guys don't have beef bacon, you should get some beef bacon.
I've never had it. I really, really want to try it. I don't know where you can get it. Maybe I'll have to just ask a butcher, see if they can do it special or something like that.
Well, I got some at Sam's one time, but don't fall for it, because it was almost like a deli meat texture. It was not good. Don't fall for it. If they have it at Costco, don't buy it.
Is it a bit like I'll do a brisket slow cooked, and then I'll slice it up, and then I'll fry it in tallow or butter in a cast iron pan? I've sort of thought that was kind of a bit like beef bacon. Have you done that, Anthony?
No, I haven't done that.
That's nice.
Like if I was going to reheat it, like if it's cold. When it's cold. I haven't actually done that yet, but like that was something I think it was like, oh, that'd be good. To do that way.
Yeah, that sounds like beef bacon, except it's just not cured. I mean, but that's basically what it is. He uses brisket for it. So it's just really thin sliced brisket, and then it's cured. So same thing. Probably it's probably very similar.
Yeah, it's nice. It gets all crispy in the pan. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Interesting. So is that have you come across beef bacon? It's not really a supply of that here.
No, I haven't seen it in any Aussie butcher shops. No.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to sort of find that stuff. Yeah, there are a few specialty butchers around Perth. Like I'll have to just go and ask them and see if that's something that they do. And because it sounds great, and just like bacon's awesome, obviously, and
bacon is great.
But like also I just beef is amazing, and like that's like my favorite thing to eat. So like I like the idea of being able to do that with beef as well.
Yeah, and when I first went looking for it, like he doesn't advertise it, so that might be the same way with your butchers. There is maybe they're not advertising it, but they'll make it for you if you ask them, because he doesn't advertise it. But I had seen somebody talking about it online, and I was like, oh well, I'm gonna have to find this. And so I went in, and asked him about it. But it's really good, and it's the same price as whatever like the brisket is. And when I first bought it, I went looking for it because I was doing the lion diet for a month last summer, and I just thought, well, I know it has some spices on it, but it gives me it gives me a different way to have the beef. It's ruminant animals only, and I don't like lamb or anything like that. So I was like, it'd be nice if I had a different way to have the beef. So even though it's got some spices on it, I went ahead and I use it when I do beef only. When I'm just doing the lion diet, I eat it anyway because it is beef, and so.
And it's cool they can do that. Supposedly anyone could. That's awesome. He doesn't charge you extra. I mean, he's putting in, he's doing extra work. So it could be,
but you're a good customer. So
well, that's it.
All right. Leading question. Serena, when you first went carnivore, was there something that you tweaked that then provided a breakthrough, perhaps in fat loss?
Yeah. So when I first started, I jumped right into fasting. Don't do that. Don't jump right into fasting when you start carnivore. That is not the right way to do it. I jumped right into fasting. I kept hearing eat when hungry until full and don't count calories, and fasting is good. And so because I'm an all or nothing person, I decided that if a 24-hour fast is good, a 48-hour fast must be better. And so I fasted Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I had 2 hamburgers with a little bit of cheese, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And there might have been one day a week where I ate a little bit more than that, or had 2 meals or something, but I was very, very strict with the fasting. And I started gaining weight.
Yeah.
Very low calorie. At the end of the week, I was probably only eating 4,000 or 5,000 calories, and I know.
That's not enough.
No.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
I know.
Don't try
it's
this
part
at
of the
home,
story.
Yeah.
I'm not done yet. I'm not done. And so I got to be like, literally 8 months, 9 months in, scale kept going up. Like it would be the same 1 or 2 pounds, and then it would go up an extra pound, and then it would stay there. And then it would be the same 1 or 2 pounds, and then it would go up extra pound, like really slow over the 8-month period, but the scale was definitely going up. And I would try to eat more, but it felt wrong to me. It just felt so wrong. And because I wasn't counting my calories, like, I guess I'm a numbers person, I had to see it. So after about 8 months, I was crying. I couldn't believe I was up another clothing size. 18 pounds is a lot. I'm only 5'3", and I already had like 10 pounds I needed to lose. And so, now I'm looking at 28 pounds instead of 10. That's a huge, so I was a mess. But I kept hearing it's because you're healing. It's because you're healing. And I wanted to believe that. So I just kept prodding along. And then one day I was like, I got to count my calories here. And it was like 2 hamburgers and some cheese with a little bit of butter. It was super easy to put in. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner, like just to check, but just people kept saying, don't count calories. And so I put it into my carb manager and realized I was eating, like 800 or 900 calories every other day. And I was like, no wonder I'm not losing weight. So for 4 months, I ate at maintenance calories. I put in my food in the app and acted like I wasn't trying to lose weight so I could like fix my metabolism. Also, I tanked my progesterone by doing that. I wasn't eating enough. My body just had no idea what was going on. And it was holding on to everything because of it and putting on weight because of it. It was like in crisis mode, I guess. Yeah. And so I did 4 months at maintenance, and then I was able to lower it a little bit and started losing weight. So then in 6 months, I lost 35 pounds. It doesn't sound as great when you say in 18 months, I lost 35 pounds, and I didn't lose it in 35 pounds. I lost it. I didn't lose it in 18 months. I lost it in
not
6
a race
months because I had gained before that. Right. It's not a race, I hated it at the time. Then I was super upset about it, and I hated the process. I was so upset with myself. I was so upset with my progress. And I just kept thinking, how stupid am I to follow this? And other people would say to me like, well, it's no wonder you're gaining weight. Like didn't feel like I could be a role model for the carnivore diet, so that was really hard for me to speak publicly about the carnivore diet, knowing that I was gaining weight. It was a really hard time for me to figure out where I was in this community. And do I really have anything to say if I've gained 18 pounds? Sure, I felt good, but do I really have anything to say? And I had, and I had healed fixed my brain, and I had fixed so many other things that, I just tried to use that to overcompensate for the weight. But in any case, so I lost 35 pounds in 6 months and feel, really great. And so now that's part of my story. I hated it at the time, but now I look back on that and I'm like, well, that was part of my journey, and I wouldn't be able to help so many of the people that I help now. When people come to me and say, I don't understand what's going on, I'm not losing weight. And people who weigh 200, 250 pounds tell me what they're eating, and they're eating 1,000 calories. And I'm like, well, there's your problem. And it's really hard for people to wrap their mind around it. And I think if I hadn't experienced that, it would be harder for me to explain that and sympathize with people and help them with that. So I guess, it's part of my journey, and I've just come to, and I'm still at the same place. It took me a little bit longer, than I wanted it to, but I'm where I wanted to be. And that's just, part of my story now.
Yeah. That's something like in bariatric medicine, and even like bariatric surgeons that do the bypass surgeries, taking off parts of the stomach and the small intestine to make it physically harder to eat stuff. And you actually take out the part of the stomach that secretes ghrelin, which is, when your stretch receptors that, when they're empty, you secrete ghrelin. It says, hey, we're empty. There's nothing in the pipeline. So if you don't have enough leptin, your brain goes like, okay, you need to eat something. normally it's tempered by the leptin, but if you're eating carbohydrates, the insulin will block the leptin, and fructose will independently block the leptin, as well as increasing the insulin, which will block the leptin. And fructose always comes with glucose generally, and so that will all compound to block your leptin. And fructose actually upregulates ghrelin as well, so you get this like, Jesus, you got to eat. And so one of the things that these surgeries do, these bariatric surgeries do, is like physically removes the area of the stomach that secretes ghrelin, and that seems to help with hunger suppression as well. A lot easier to just stop eating like fruit, honey, and sugar, I think anyway. Yeah. And but they'll talk about how, and I don't know where this is coming from, but this is just from what I've been told by bariatric surgeons and like nutritionists that work with them, is that basically 1,200 calories is sort of the mark, that like if you're eating less than 1,200 calories a day, you will not lose weight. So you have to eat at least 1,200 calories a day, or else your body, like you say, goes in this crisis panic lockdown mode that says, okay, we're in a famine, we're going to die. Like we need to really, really, really hold on to every single spare calorie that we have. And so it ends up being difficult to lose weight. I mean, this flies in the face of the calories in, calories out crowd, because this is a clear, demonstrable phenomenon that happens, and you can actually track this, and people's metabolism will slow down, and will be want to store fat as opposed to use your fat stores. And and that seems to be the tipping point. You get a bit less than that, all of a sudden you're gaining weight. It seems paradoxically, but not when you actually understand the biochemistry and what's going on. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't, who are pushing that sort of the calories in, calories out sort of thing. And but that is something that you see. So it's I think you made the point that you don't want to, when people say don't count calories, it's really just like, hey, don't count calories and say like, this is how much I'm going to eat, I'm not going to eat more than that. That's usually when people are dieting or doing this for weight loss. They have like a limit, like I'm only going to eat this much and then I stop. It's usually the opposite problem, whereas you were very much under eating. And the point that I've heard you make, which I think is a good point, is that sometimes you might need to track your calories just to make sure you're eating enough, because it's very easy to undereat. And that's something I noticed when I first did this 22 years ago. Was that I always was under eating, and that ended up biting me, because you can't do that forever. And right. I was going, and I was also taking it was over the counter, there's like an energy pill called Ripped Fuel, which is crazy stuff, and it's like this ton of ephedrine in it, and so that's obviously going to really suppress your hunger as well.
Is it like a pre-workout or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is when I was playing rugby, and I was just just training all the time. I was playing with the university team. I was playing with the premiership team, and I was going to college, going to university. And so, and this stuff would come out, and like my boy's like, yeah, this stuff is great. Energy pills. I'm like, great, yeah, try that. And so it really suppressed my hunger even more. And also, obviously, your hunger is very different. So I just never felt hungry. And I even, and I had tons of energy, because that's what the ephedrine does. You have tons of energy. And so I was just going around. I was just like, just get up, go to class. As soon as I finished class, I was straight into, training, and I would train until, 10 o'clock at night. It was like from 3:30 to 10 o'clock at night every single day. And then I'd have, at least 3 games on the weekends, if not more. And that was just it. And that was just what I did. And because I was so busy, and because I was, I was up early, and I was home late, I didn't have any chance to eat during the day, and I never felt like it anyway. And at night, I never realized, I was like, oh, maybe I should eat. I was like, I really don't have time. So I would just drink like half a gallon of water, fill up my stomach, and I'd just go to sleep. And then the next day I didn't feel hungry in the morning. I'd just go. And so every now and then I would be, I'd be home like at 9 or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay. I have some time. Maybe I'll have something to eat, and I'll have time to cook. And I think it's just like, yeah, that's good, because I didn't eat yesterday. And I didn't eat the day before that. I was like, did I eat the day before that? And I was just like, okay, I need to eat something. Like, that's ridiculous. But I did not feel hungry. And obviously because the ephedrine was not helping with that. And then I would just eat just pounds and pounds and pounds of beef and eggs and things like that. It didn't always do that. Like, every now and then, like it was amazing. I went to like the grocery store by the university, and like one day they just had a sale on ribeyes, right? It was like $1.20 a pound for ribeyes. And I was like, that can't be real. I started taking, I took one and like took another. I'm like, can I just take more of these? It didn't say like, limit one or whatever. So I see a little more, and like then a couple more, and I'm like, okay. And I just sort of kept guiltily like taking more and more. And I just started loading up this cart with all this beef. And like the butcher was just like, hey, leave something for someone else. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And I scurried off because I felt like I was doing something bad. When I went back and talked to my brother, he was just like, "You just fill the whole thing, be like, whatever, screw you, like make some more, like it doesn't say I can't do that."
Right,
yeah. And but then I was like, yeah, I had like tons and tons and tons of meat, tons of these steaks. And it came out to be like, it's like, all right, $68, and the guy even went like, that's a lot of meat for $68. And I was like, yeah, it's amazing. It's on sale. You got to check it out. I was like, yeah, I'm going off in 15 minutes. I'm going to fill up too. And so when I had that, like, I was just like, every day I was like, oh, get that steak, because it was awesome. But there were periods that like, yeah, I didn't eat like literally days in a row. And I just never felt hungry. And it ended up biting me because eventually I got to the point where I just was not eating. And I was not feeling better. Like normally every workout, everything I did, I could feel myself getting better and stronger and faster and fitter every single time. And then it got to the point where every workout I did actually took me down a peg. And I was just like, this isn't right. And I remember thinking, I was just like, this is probably, I'm just not eating enough. Like that has to be what it is. But I was just like, I'm just not hungry. Like what am I supposed to eat? I'm not hungry, So it was very weird for me. And I think that's something that obviously, hopefully, people aren't taking ephedrine, but like it's something that you don't notice as much on a carnivore diet because your hunger signals are so different. And so I think that that's a good point. Is that you should at least track and make sure you're eating enough. And if you can't do that just by eating until things stop tasting good or whatever, then maybe keep a track of that is a good idea. But you definitely want to get enough anyway.
I think
on you.
I was going to say the other problem with the sort of calories argument is that people get confused and they think that calories from beef is the same as like calories from like carbohydrate from bread or something like that. Right. And so they say, oh well, I'll just load up, I'll just spend all my calories on bread or something like that. And I think that's why. Right. That's why the carnivore communities are often like, don't count calories, don't worry about calories.
Yeah, like these things are fungible. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
It's just
I'll just swap lollies.
Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah. You just need this amount of calories. It doesn't come a matter of
it's all petrol.
Just I'm just going to drink syrup.
Exactly.
Maple, and that's fine, and those are my calories for today, and that's the only thing that matters. These are complex, molecules, complex organic molecules. They have a chemical reaction in your body. They do different things, and anyone who has taken chemistry and certainly biochemistry should know that. And a lot of these guys that are proponents of this have taken biochemistry. Like that's a prerequisite for medical school in America. And so, any doctor who says, oh yeah, it doesn't matter, like obviously wasn't paying attention when they should have been in class.
Yeah. You reminded me, this is totally off topic, completely off topic, but you were talking about taking the ephedrine when I was in my starting when I was a teenager, but when I was in my early 20s, I was a disc jockey on the radio and I did traffic reports too. That's actually how my husband and I met. He was the pilot that flew me around in Raleigh to do my traffic reports.
Cute.
But what?
Cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I worked so much to try to make a name in radio for myself in Raleigh that I would work Monday through Friday as a traffic reporter. So I would work, like 5:30 in the morning until 9 a.m. And then I would go to one of the radio stations where I worked and I would do like promotions and stuff all day. I would help them with stuff. Then I would go back to traffic from 3:30 to 6. And then in the evening, like my shift at the traffic place ended at 6. Usually I had a shift at a radio station that went until midnight. So I would have to call the radio station and get the person that was already there to wait for me to get there. And then I would go home and I would sleep from 12:30 until, 5 o'clock in the morning. But I took lots and lots of caffeine pills and ephedrine to stay awake. But then I also had to take something to make me sleep. And my stomach was upset all the time. I was nauseous all the time. I carried, like, on Friday nights when I got off at traffic and I went to go work from 6 to midnight. At midnight, I had a shift at a different radio station, and I would work there from midnight to 6. And then I would work from 6 to noon at the first radio station. I worked at 3 different radio stations at the same time, like that, all weekend long until Sunday night at 6 p.m. And then I would go home and I would stay up all weekend. I would stay up. I didn't go home at all. I carried cans of soup and tuna fish in my backpack, and I would eat at the radio station, but I was so sick to my stomach, I could barely eat. I was miserable. But that was how I kept going, was like the caffeine pills and the ephedrine. And then I would have to take, like something, whatever it was, over the counter, that would help me go to sleep on Sunday nights, so I could sleep from like 6 p.m. until 5 when I had to go start my week over again. It was miserable. My stomach was so upset from all the ephedrine. So totally different topic, but a little bit relatable because of the ephedrine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing that stuff's not available really anymore. I remember when I was in San Diego playing down there for Almback, playing rugby down there in the U.S. Super League. It was sort of getting harder and harder to get, and so you have to order off the internet from somewhere. And I remember, like, I didn't sort of have some, and there was a guy on my team, and like he asked me, he's like, "Oh yeah, I got these. I don't know where he got them, from El Salvador or something like that." But he was just like, he's like, "Yeah, these things are like really strong, and just take one." And I was just like, "Yeah, I've been taking 2 before a game, for a while." I was like, "It should be fine." Oh my God, was that a mistake? Like, I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. It was just like, my heart was just going crazy. I'm like, "Oh, this is bad. This is bad." That wasn't ephedrine. It was like meth or something like that. Like, it was bad. Like, I don't know what this thing was doing in my body, but I felt wretched for days after that. And it was so bad. I didn't sleep that night at all. I did not sleep. And I don't even know if I took 2, but like even just 1, I was like, "Oh my God," like that stuff was terrible. And I felt horrible for days after that. And but yeah, ephedrine wasn't great either. Like
that's what coffee does to me now.
Yeah,
coffee does that to me now. It keeps me up all night, makes me feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack. I blame you for that.
Me?
What
did I do?
Getting you off.
I got you off of it. I got you off the junk. You're welcome.
I know the last 5% makes 95% of the difference for most people. That's what made me go off coffee, was you saying that.
Yeah,
so I blame you.
And then you got the benefits of it. So there you go.
I did. I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm kidding. But I've had coffee twice since I went off of it in April, and both times I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I mean, it was bad. So I'm good.
Yeah, sounds similar to me, Serena. Yeah, I have it now, and it's just.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. I don't need it.
No, you don't need it. And
I don't need it anymore.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things too, that people talk about sleep, and most people get much better sleep.
Much better.
Yeah, much better. And mine certainly is. I was a terrible sleeper my whole life. And I would be one of those kids that would just be up all night, just staring at the ceiling, just not being able to go to sleep, or even like laying there with my eyes closed, but like I just could not get to sleep. And I would feel tired, but my mind was just so active and great. And I didn't like have caffeine as a kid, but I could not turn my brain off and just get to sleep. And I would get to the point where it was just like, I'm all constantly looking at the clock. And obviously that's making me very stressed. But like, I only have 6 hours now. I only have 5 hours now. I only have 3 hours now. Like, I only have 2 hours. Like, oh my God, can I please just get 20 damn minutes to sleep, And it's just like, I'm like, and as soon as it's like time to get up, and then I'm just like exhausted in my body. And I was like, come on, and then I'm just like wrecked throughout the day in school. So that was always the thing. I was flipped. I was just a night person. Like, I was wide awake, wired all night, and just dying all day. And then all day, I was just desperately trying to stay awake in class. And I was like, all I could think about was like getting home and going to sleep. As soon as I got back, it was just wide awake. I was like, God, too much. So it was very frustrating. But some people will, and then my sleep's great now, and it's very, very easy to get to sleep and stay asleep. But some people will say that they have worse time getting to sleep, which is weird to me. But like a lot of times there's different things that can contribute, but a lot of the time it's someone still drinking coffee. But I'm only having 1 cup of coffee. I'm drinking less coffee than I used to, but it just affects you differently now. And I don't know why, but there's some sort of, the mix and concoction of things that you're eating and drinking is different now. And this caffeine is much more potent and affects you. And so people have this morning cup of coffee, and then at night they're having really hard time sleeping, and then they cut it out, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's what it was. But it seems weird to them because they're actually drinking less coffee than they were when they were sleeping better on a mixed diet. So it's weird.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Yeah, it's
also
interesting.
the like people who are having trouble sleeping, we're finding that they're not eating enough, and they're not
Yeah,
getting
that
enough
too.
nutrition, and it's sort of causing this kind of like anxious, kind of stressed out feeling when they're sleeping, and maybe they can't get to sleep, or they're just waking up really early feeling anxious and sort of wired, which I've definitely experienced. Serena, what's happening with are you eating the butter before bed?
I am. Yeah. Dr. Bright calls it wired but tired. Like you wake up in the middle of the night and feel like you're up for the day, but it's only 2 a.m. And sometimes you think you're up because you have to go to the bathroom, but it's not really because you have to go to the bathroom. She's talking about your cortisol rising and lowering in the middle of the night. And so you get that flight or fright feeling when you wake up. And that's what it's like. When I wake up in the middle of the night, I feel like it's daytime and I should just get up, but I don't want to because I need the sleep. I know that I do, and I want to rest. It's only been 3 hours I've been in bed. I'm not going to get up then. And I will literally lay in bed sometimes for 2 hours before I can fall back asleep. So I saw a video with Dr. Bright in it talking about that and about how there are some things in butter that actually can help calm your cortisol and lower it and help you go back to sleep. And so I started trying to incorporate more butter in the last week or so anyway, because I realized I probably wasn't getting enough fat just in general. I have a hard time, even after 18 months, I have a hard time making sure I'm eating enough if I don't go out of my way and make a conscious effort to make sure that I'm eating enough sometimes, even after 18 months. And even after I know the mistake I made at the beginning, it's still hard to remember that you have to eat more. And it's the same way with fat. It's hard to remember that we need that fat, that we need that butter. And so anyway, it's a hard thing to imagine, but she talks about taking some butter to bed with you and taking a big bite before bed. And so I take my stick of butter out. I actually like unsalted butter. If I'm going to take the stick out and unwrap it and take a bite, I actually prefer the unsalted better for that. And then I'll bring some into our bedroom and put it on my nightstand next to the bed. And in the middle of the night, when I wake up, I just reach over. I feel like it feels really weird in the middle of the night to reach over and pick up this napkin or paper towel that has the butter on it. Like I'm laying down in bed, I'm like, put the napkin back, but it works. I'm able to go right back to sleep. A couple of nights in the last week and a half, I have slept straight through without waking up at all, which is really, I have not been sleeping well for the last several months. I wonder if it's my hormones maybe or whatever. And I do think it could be my hormones. Like I laid in bed the other night after I woke up and had gone back to sleep, in the morning when I was waking up, I was thinking, how many women are having hormone issues just because they don't eat enough butter, just because they don't eat enough fat, because fat's bad for us. Butter is bad for us. Everybody uses margarine I used to use spray butter. That is not butter, but it's basically spray liquid artificial salt with butter flavoring. But I just wonder, it just really makes you think
Millions,
how many of us are having hormone issues because we don't eat enough fat. And so if it's my cortisol and my hormones waking me up in the middle of the night, then it makes sense that the butter would kind of help me go back to sleep. So for people that are having trouble sleeping, the butter really has helped me a lot in the last week and a half. And it feels really weird, but I already have my pajamas on. I'm getting ready to come upstairs. And it's the last thing I do is I open the refrigerator door, I peel open that butter and I take a bite. And the rest of it, I'll leave some up on my nightstand, I'll leave it there for several days until it's gone. But it's really interesting that because I thought there's no way this is going to work, but it really has helped me sleep a lot.
That's good. I remember just eating butter. There's obviously when you can convince yourself of a lot of things, and so a lot of people convince themselves that fat's bad for them, even though we have these urges, these guilty urges to eat it, and that's where people can have disordered eating and binging and purging and things like that. Their body's saying you need to eat this, you need these nutrients, and then you have to purge to get this stuff out of them if you don't want that in your system, and that can obviously create big problems for people. But even for me, when I was seeing the research and seeing the studies and knowing that okay, cholesterol is not what we thought it was, saturated fats is not the problem that we thought it was. I was doing carnivore. I still was cutting off the fat. I remember I caught myself once and I was just cutting fat off. I'm like, what am I doing? I trusted research. I trusted data. Fat's good for me. Eat the damn fat. And I literally said that to myself, eat the damn fat. And so I started, but I couldn't. Like you just said, it was like in my whole being just sort of revolted against it. It was just like, oh no, you can't do that. No, that's bad. I associated that taste and texture, which I enjoyed, with bad outcomes. And so I just like, oh, my body just like rebelled against it. So I had to sort of relearn that and sort of take a little bit of slice and then put that in with some lean slice of fat and put that in with some lean meat. And that would taste good together. I'm like, oh, okay. So I started doing that. Now I can just eat the fat. Now I can just eat butter. It tastes amazing. And I just remember when I was in high school, it's just one of those stupid things you do when you're kids. And I was like, hanging out with some friends, like we were drinking or whatever. And just sort of talking about all these like these weird like things that were in my buddy Jonathan's refrigerator, and like just basically like putting all this concoction together, and just like, and people were like betting on it to see if like I would eat it, and so it was just like put it together. And some people was like, oh yeah, like $2 or $3, whatever, and people sort of bucked up, and then one person was just like, yeah, and so we came around. It was like a pound of butter, and like 12 eggs, but it turned out they were like fertilized eggs for like a high school like biology experiment, something like that. And not like they still just looked like eggs, but like it turned out that they were like fertilized. They're part of this like science experiment his mom taught in high school and college, and so like I just had this class project like in the fridge that I just like drank, and then like some weird drink with like Worcestershire sauce and a bunch of other just random things that they thought would just be horrible, and it was. And it was like, and then one person was just like, and people were like, oh yeah, I paid $2 or $5 or whatever, and they sort of had it in. It was like, oh, like $20. Like, all right, yeah, maybe. And one person was like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'll put 50 on that. I'm like, oh well, there we go. Like we're doing this now, like you're a kid. And I didn't have a job at that point, so I was like, that was like real money to me. I'm like, okay, like we're doing this.
This was your job.
Yeah, it was my exactly, it was my job. And so I was just like, all right. And I was like tracking how to do this. I thought like, like the drinking the eggs was going to be like a harder thing, and like texture wise, and like whatever the hell that shot was, that was going to be horrible. And then I thought the butter was going to be easy. I was just like, oh, okay. I was just like, I had a plan. I was like, it was in the fridge. It was going to be hard. I was like, well, I don't want to do that. It'll take longer. So I'll put it in the microwave for like 15 seconds and soften it up. And then I can just slurp this stuff down. And so, and I had an hour to do it. Right. Or was it? No, I had 15 minutes to do it. So I had 15 minutes to do it. And it was a bet. Right. So if I lost, I was responsible for that. Right. And so I had 15 minutes. And so I put this stuff in the refrigerator, took it from the refrigerator, put it in the microwave, nuked it for a bit. And I was like, bang, go. And I was like doing this, and people were like, well, what are you doing? And I got it, and it had soft. It was like soft. And I went and grabbed it. And I was like, yeah. And I went, my body would not allow me to swallow it. It literally stopped. I'm like I forgot how to swallow. It's just like, it just wouldn't happen. It's supposed to happen automatically. It's just like, it's not happening. Like I'm like pushing the swallow button, and it's like not swallowing. I'm like, what the hell is happening? My body just absolutely rebelled. It was like, you are not doing that to yourself, you monster. And it's just like actually refused. And so I was like, just trying to get this down, but I was like, so like just revolted by this. I couldn't do it. My body would not let me swallow it. And I ended up, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And like, my buddy was just like, he was like, all right, look, we'll redo it, because they really wanted to see me do this and just suffer the whole time. So I had to eat it in 15 minutes, and then I had to keep it down for an hour. That was the deal. And so, so they were like, all right, look, we'll bring it down to 1 stick of butter that you have to. I was just like, look, I can't do it. This isn't possible. Like, this isn't tenable. It's not going to happen. There's no way I'm getting a pound of 4 sticks of butter. That's just not happening. They're like, all right, you get down 1 stick and then all the rest. I'm like, oh Jesus. And so it said yes. And it literally took me 14 and a half minutes to get this 1 stick of butter down. I was just a little bit at a time. It was just like, oh my God. It was just like, I had it like melt in my mouth and sort of like swallow it down. It was like my whole body was rebelling against this. And I just like, literally, I was looking at the clock, and they're all just laughing again. They thought they were just watching me suffer this whole time, and they were going to win the bet. And I got down to like, it was probably, I had like 15 seconds to go. And I was just like, I just got the last bit down. Like, great. I just like, grabbed it. And I was like, well, you guys have to crack the eggs for me and get those ready and do that. Like, yeah, fine. Yeah, we'll do all that. So it was ready. So the second that I finished that thing, I just grabbed the eggs, boom, shot it down and dragged that thing down. And it was down in like 10 seconds. They're like, no.
Yeah.
So I ended up winning the bet. I kept this in, but I was so disgusted with myself that I did that. So I kept it down for the hour. And then I was just like, guys, like I've gone through the hour, I kept it down, like, but I don't actually want this in my body. I don't want this stuff in my system, because I thought it was bad. Fat's bad. I don't want a whole stick of butter. My goodness, how could you? So I was like, is it all right if I just go and take care of this? And they're like, absolutely. So I was taking pictures of me like vomiting in the bushes and things like that. And now I eat butter. It's like, that's the thing. It's like right now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, after this, I'm going to go and slice of butter and just eat it, and it's so funny what we can do to ourselves to condition ourselves to in one direction or another. It's very funny, but yeah, I remember that vividly about just the horror that my body was, it's this state of horror that I was looking at. I was like, you are not eating that. And just wouldn't let me do it. It was very funny. And now it's just the complete opposite.
Yeah. And now I have friends who say, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you can eat that much fat. I don't know how you can eat that much meat. I couldn't do that. And like what I want to say to them is just, and I say this to other people, I don't usually say it to my friends, but I want to say, just get out of your own way. You're in your way. Like it's your thoughts, it's your process that's keeping you from doing it. So if you don't try it, then you don't know, but you're the one that's standing in the way of this. And that's what I had to do. I had to get out of my way. I was in my way for 35 years. I was in my own way. And I had to get out of my own way and try something different and be different, in order to feel better and be better. I'm a different person than I was then. And, but my point is, everybody thinks they can't do it. You thought you couldn't do it, with the butter. And everybody now is saying, oh, you can't do that. You can't eat like that. I can't eat like that. I can't eat just fat and butter, but you can, and you can feel really good for doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. That friend, Jonathan's like, my best friend, like he couldn't eat fat if he saw it. Like if it was marbled in and like in fat, that'd be fine. But if he could visibly see fat, like he could not eat it. You cut it off, you take it out, you just never eat it. And even he was just like, yeah, it took like a month. I got over it. He's like, now I definitely eat the fat. I eat all the fat. And I love the fat now. So you can, even if you have and I never did that maybe I'll trim some of it off. It had a lot of excess, but I would generally eat it, the fat with the meat. And, but he couldn't. And even he like came around. He's like, well, actually, like now I really like it. So it's very, very interesting, like how we can condition ourselves to just hate the taste of something that's actually quite good for us. Yeah. And then when you sort of undo that block, all of a sudden you're like, wow, actually that's amazing. That's fantastic.
We've all already done it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Serena, I remember that with pork crackling. Like, did you guys ever have roast pork when you were growing up? And then you'd have the crackling, like finish it off in the oven. And we all loved it, but it was as if you were having something that was really bad for you. And so you'd sort of limit yourself, but you wanted it so badly. And whereas now it'd be like, just have as much as what tastes good.
Yeah, that's what you go for, Right.
And
you want something that's high fat. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just going to say, we've already done that with ourselves once, taught ourselves to eat things we didn't like when we made ourselves eat broccoli and spinach and kale. We've already done that one time. So it's really easy to undo that and eat things that already tasted good, but you just thought you shouldn't eat.
Yeah, that actually tastes good as opposed to broccoli, which does not, And broccoli is probably one of the least offensive plants out there, vegetables out there. And that's why a lot of people eat it, just because it isn't as bad as these other things. But I remember as a kid, absolutely hating broccoli, or especially raw. That was just not going to happen. And, but cooked, steamed, it sort of diminished it. But I just couldn't stand it. And, thinking now, like what broccoli tastes like to me, well, I haven't tried it since, but like, what last time I had broccoli, what that sort of tastes like to me. I was like, is that bad? It's not like that offensive, but, I must have just drowned out some very, primal signals, because when I was a kid, I couldn't stand it. The only way they could get me to eat any broccoli or come near broccoli was if my mom put just melted a ton of cheese. It would make like a cheese sauce on it.
Cheese sauce. Yeah.
And so I was just like, I love the cheese sauce. I'm like, ooh, really like that. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll get that, the broccoli, and pour a bunch of cheese on it. And I use the broccoli as sort of like a spoon, just spoon up cheese and just sort of like slurp it off the broccoli, but then like eat as little of the broccoli as possible with the cheese. I mean, I'll never take like a small bite just to make it appear as if I was eating the broccoli with the cheese, which I was definitely not. And that way, and even with the cheese sauce covering it, like it just tasted horrible. But like that's the thing too, if you have to cover up this taste just to eat it, like how can that be something that you evolved to eat? You know, why would we have evolved to hate the taste of our most important nutrient? It doesn't make any sense. And either way, broccoli didn't exist, even 5,000 years ago. This is new. We bioengineered. We've created this stuff. And so this, you can't say that we were designed to eat something that didn't exist, at the dawn of time. Like it's not possible. That's not a thing. It's like one thing came before the other.
Yeah.
So yeah. And it's gross.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Simple.
All right. Well, that's the hour. Thanks so much, Serena. That was fun.
Thank you so much. It was awesome.
And we'll have to get you on again for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And tell us where people can find you and about your online stuff as well.
Yeah, people can find me at serena.carnivore on Instagram and TikTok. I just load the same stuff as I do on Instagram, on TikTok, but there's a different audience there. So, and on Facebook, Serena Music, and you'll see the picture. I'm wearing my Carnivore Revolution apron, which brings me to the next place you can find me is with my friend, Jessalyn Randall. She's my partner in crime. You guys had her on not long ago, but Jessalyn and I do the Carnivore Revolution. We have an Instagram page and a YouTube channel. We make videos where we cook, do interviews, give, our top 5 tips for carnivore and things like that. And we have a lot of fun doing that. So you can find me there also.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Different demographic in TikTok is mostly, teenage girls and, overweight, middle-aged men living in their parents' basements. So yeah, if you want to hit that, tap into that growing
Might as well.
market, then get in there. Yeah.
Might as well do that. I wanted to say one more thing. Do you guys know my friend Kelly Hogan?
Yeah.
You know who she is, right?
Yeah, I know who she is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, you know who she is. I was just going to say, I messaged her late last week because I had gained a couple of pounds and I was really upset. And I was like, I know it doesn't matter. I know it doesn't matter. So I messaged,
Yeah. Sorry. Just rewind there. It was obviously the hot sauce.
So anyway,
I
messaged Kelly Hogan about it. And she said, so she understands completely. She started working out, recently, put on a few pounds. And that's what had happened was I started lifting weights again. I started doing push-ups and squat challenges. And just like I hadn't been doing that stuff for a while. So I started doing all that again. And she gave really good advice that I want to just repeat what she said. She said in a voice message to me, she said, so look at it like this. You've already met that goal. Like your goal was whatever your weight goal was, and you've met that goal. It's time to move on. So if a few pounds is what it takes to be stronger and healthier, then that's what it's going to take. And you're certainly not going to do yourself any harm by gaining, 5 pounds of muscle and being stronger because of it. And it just really helped me to kind of let go of that weight thing.
Yeah.
I just felt like her words of wisdom were so good. And so I just wanted to share that, for anybody who meets their goal and starts lifting weights, or if you're already lifting weights while you're losing weight and the scale stays the same, just keep in mind that you're not doing anything that's not good by lifting the weights while you're trying to lose weight. And I kind of waited because I wanted to see the scale go down. And I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I'd have just gone back to lifting weights much sooner because I'd be so much farther along. But so many of us women, I think, do that. We don't want the scale to stay the same while we're getting smaller. We want to see the number get smaller instead. And so, my advice is to absolutely start exercising right away and don't wait on that, because you just the scale is moving in the right direction, but I set myself back by doing it that way.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And, you're going to provide a lot of benefit to yourself by putting on that muscle, and it will make you healthier. And that's why you tell people, people do get very hung up on that number. It's just like, the scale. And that's why a lot of the older, I think more successful and just better Facebook groups on carnivore, like zeroing in on health or zero carb health. And there are a number of them, but these are two that I was quite active in, years ago. That was one thing they always said. It was like, do not talk about it. Don't even own a scale. Just focus on your health and how you're doing, how your dress sizes are, your shirt sizes, pants sizes, all these sorts of things. And, just don't focus on that. It's just not, a worthy marker, because it doesn't matter what your weight is, and people, that's the thing. We say we want to lose weight. No, you don't. You want to lose fat.
Exactly.
That's what you want.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. And so, so your weight may not change. My weight didn't change for, I don't know, months. It did at first. I lost like 23 pounds in like the first 2 weeks. And then it stayed the same because I was replacing the fat I was losing with the muscle I was gaining. And so I was looking in the mirror. I was getting much more muscular, much more lean. I could see it visibly week after week. And I took like monthly update photos. It was just a dramatic difference every month. And I stayed the exact same weight. It was 243 pounds on the nose. There wasn't a single, I weighed myself every day. There wasn't a single day that it was 242 or 244. It was 243 on the nose every single day. And which is crazy, but that's what it was. And it was like that for months and months and months and months. So I actually sort of messed up my knee and I couldn't, squat and run and things like that. And I actually lost muscle mass on my legs. And that's when I started losing weight. And I did not want to lose weight. I wanted to lose fat and gain muscle. Yeah. And so that's what people should focus on is just your health. Think about your health. Think about how you look. Think about how you feel. The most important thing is how you feel. The most important thing is how well you are, and getting your body working properly and not being sick and not needing to be reliant on so many medications that again did not exist, all that long ago. And so how could these be something that we actually need in our life if we're living a normal life and we're living naturally? It really shouldn't. Some people will. They're just things that happen, like you get thyroid damage for some reason or surgery or whatever, and you just have to replace that. That's just something you have to do. But barring that, we really shouldn't be reliant on medication the way that we are anyway. And so that's what people should be focusing on, is actual health as opposed to weight. And even if you're doing weight, it's fat loss. That's what you want. That's the real marker. And that's what you should focus on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Serena. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's always great talking to you. And it was very nice of you to come on and share your story. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Totally. Thanks, Serena.